We are fast approaching the stage of the ultimate inversion, the stage where the government is free to do anything it pleases while the citizens may act only by permission, which is the stage of the darkest period of human history, the stage of rule by brute force. Ayn Rand. Why the F is everything fake? You can't post right now. You may have used Facebook in a way that our system considers unusual, even if you didn't mean to. You can post again in 8 hours. That was yesterday, so I can post today, and I'll probably be banned again tomorrow. This is why you need to move over to MeWe. Democrats make it very clear that if they gain power in this country, they are more than willing to come into your home to force you to accept their authority. Democrat government will become a hybrid of Nazi Germany and Soviet Russia. Are you willing to pay that price for their socialist ideology? I thought you were watching Epstein. In 1990, the IRS seized Willie Nelson's bank accounts and real estate holdings for a $16 million tax debt. Al Sharpton owes in excess of $19 million in taxes, and he visited the Obama White House regularly as a guest. Explain white privilege again? The United States is third in murders throughout the world. If you remove Chicago, Detroit, Washington, St. Louis and New Orleans, the United States is then 198th out of 193. 189 of 193 countries in the entire world. P.S. All 5 cities have strict gun control laws. Give me a third of your income or I'll cage you at gunpoint. Imagine the mental gymnastics needed to believe that isn't theft. If you're distracted by the puppets, you'll never expose their handlers. Fluoride makes your body absorb extra aluminium. Oh, I wonder why everyone seems to be getting Alzheimer's. And where does that aluminium go? Your brain. And what metal shows up alarmingly in the brains of Alzheimer's victims? You guessed it. We don't always sanction a blind man who couldn't read the letter, summoning him to a work capability assessment, but when we do, we celebrate. DWP. This is how you are seen by governments and politicians. Paedophile found with vile baby rape videos spared jail after saying sorry. Kevin Taylor, 28, was found with nearly 30 sick videos on his computer, some in folders captioned incest and wrong. A paedophile who was found with sick videos of babies being raped has been spared jail after he convinced the judge he was sorry. Kevin Taylor, 28, had downloaded nearly 30 video clips, some of which he stored in folders captioned incest and wrong. But he claimed he did not know how they got onto his computer. The Liverpool Echo reports. During so if you live in Liverpool and you know Kevin Taylor, during the 3-day trial, Taylor said they may have been downloaded inadvertently alongside legal movies and games. He was convicted at Liverpool Crown Court on 3 counts of making and 1 count of possessing indecent images of children. His sick stash included 20 Category A, the most serious category, plus 3 Category Bs and a Category C video. And he walked free because they let their own brethren paedophiles walk free when they get caught. But if you get done for, I don't know, dangerous driving or stealing, you go to jail. But you can rape babies. You can watch videos of babies being raped and you walk out of jail. The judges are frigging paedophiles. Burkow defends £31,400 travel and accommodation expenses. How much longer are we going to put up with these wankers? House of Commons Speaker John Bercow claimed travel and accommodation expenses of £31,400 over the past year. The details include more than £13,000 for an office trip to Australia with an aide and almost £1,000 for a car journey from Halifax to London. The Speaker was invited to address foreign parliaments and visited UK schools and organisations to boost awareness of Parliament. A spokesman for Mr Bercow said he was always mindful of costs but doesn't give a shit because you're paying for it. But Chief Secretary of the Treasury Greg Hands said MPs should be setting a much better example. He's not an MP, he's the Speaker of the House and he should be sacked for being a Remainer. Dad, horrified as public school convinces daughter she's a boy and he can't stop it. August 13th, 2019, LifeSite News. Over the past several years of writing on the subject of the transgender bullshit, although he says phenomenon, I've received many phone calls and emails from despairing parents. The details are always different, but the stories are always very much the same. The child, often struggling with body image issues, autism or mental illness, was persuaded by peers and the public school establishment that he or she, usually she, was transgender. Other possibilities are almost always rejected, and often the parents face threats from the school authorities or social services for not being affirming enough on the child's desire to switch genders. The results are always heartbreaking. One recent example was detailed this month in USA Today by Jack J. Keck, a suburban dad who lives just outside of Chicago. His nightmare began in April 2016 when his 14-year-old daughter became convinced that she was in fact a boy, with the staff of the public school in Hinsdale District 86 emphatically endorsing the decision and opposing Keck's attempt to help his daughter every step of the way. In fact, the teenage girl, who had shown no indication of gender dysphoria or a desire to be a male throughout her childhood, is one of the autism spectrum, a fact her school ignored when she declared herself to be transgender after beginning to hang out with another girl who professed to be a boy trapped in a female body. They are destroying our children. The government are destroying our children. Israeli doctor treating Syrians says snipers deliberately shoot children in the spine. Doctor makes claim that UN report shows child casualties rates in Syria are the highest recorded in any recent conflict in the region. A senior Israeli doctor treating child victims of the Syrian civil war has said that snipers in the war-torn country are aiming for the spine to cause maximum trauma. Dr. Yov Hoffman, a doctor at the Pediatric Intensive Care Unit, is one of the many doctors who has been treating severely wounded Syrians at the Western Galilee Medical Center in Nahariya, northern Israel. Having examined the patients, 40% of whom have been women and children, he came to a disturbing conclusion. Hundreds of workers march on Asda head office in protest over punitive new contract. We're being taken over by an evil cabal. We've been taken over, but we can stop it if we get off our friggin' asses and do something. 20 plus VIPs in UK pedo rings, senior politicians, military figures and people with links to the royals. Well, there's a shock, isn't there? We never expected links to the royals, did we? Oh yeah, of course we did. At least 20 high-profile members of the British establishment formed a VIP paedophile ring that abused children for decades, a whistleblower claimed. Peter McLelvin, The former child protection manager said senior politicians, military figures and even people linked to the royal family, well, I'm shocked at that, were among the alleged abusers. The campaigner, who first raises the alarm about prominent individuals engaged in child sex abuse 2 years ago, said the conspiracy may have been going on for 65 years. These dirty, filthy bastards in Parliament have been raping our children, well, probably forever. Speaking in the public for the first time in 20 years, the former local authority child protection chief said there were still people in power who have been involved in child abuse 2 decades ago. While working in Hereford and Worcester, he helped to convict notorious child abuser Peter Wrighton, one of the country's most respected authorities of childcare. Officials investigating reason for over 4,000% rise in kids seeking sex change treatments. This is what the schools are doing to the kids. They're making them think that they're the opposite sex than the ones they are. If I had kids at school now, I would take them out. If you're letting your kids be destroyed by these bastards, there's something wrong with you. And I know it's difficult because you've got to work to survive. But these schools are destroying our children. United Kingdom, September 18th, 2018. Officials in the United Kingdom want to know why there has been an explosion in the number of kids seeking sex change treatments. And we know why, because the schools are letting them and talking them into it, as we found out a couple of talks back. In just 8 years, the increase in children seeking transgender themselves has gone up 4,500% for girls and 1,250% for boys. During the reporting year 2009-10, a total of 40 girls were referred by a doctor for gender treatment. According to a report by UK's The Telegraph, by 2017-18, that number had soared to 1,806 referrals for boys, had risen from 57 to 713 in the same period. Officials in the Government Equalities Office will look into whether the influence of social media is It's not social media, it's the frigging schools! Children to consider changing sex and whether it is appropriate to treat pre-pubescent children with drugs, according to the Telegraph report. A recent study found that almost 2/3 of children and teenagers who say they want to change sex have previously been diagnosed with serious mental health disorders, continues the report. There are concerns among some doctors that children are being given hormone treatment without due consideration of the long-term side effects, which can include infertility and osteoporosis. But they don't give a shit, because infertility is what they're after for world depopulation. Medical child abuse. Transgenderism is a psychological disorder, not a biological one, said Dr. Michelle Cretella, MD, FCP, President of the American College of Pediatricians. The schools are destroying our children. NHS boss suspended on full £185,000 pay in Rotherham gets new job in Devon and is suspended on full £300,000 pay. Second time in 5 years, George Thompson kept NHS wages while absent during investigation. A health boss who stayed off work for 9 months while being investigated over accusations of bullying continued to receive his £300,000 salary, it has been revealed. George Thompson pocketed the cash from struggling Northern Devon Healthcare NHS Trust despite being absent between March and December 2018 as his behaviour was probed. He finally left this post as medical director on 14th December, but not before he also picked up a lucrative undisclosed payment in lieu of notice. Astonishingly, it was not the first time Dr. Thompson had been richly remunerated by the NHS while off work under investigation. In 2014, while director of Rotherham NHS Foundation Trust, he continued to collect his £185,000 salary, despite being absent for at least 6 months, again while being investigated for accusations of unprofessional behaviour. Can you see where the money in the NHS is going? It's going to these dirty, filthy bastards. Is a satanic cult of global leaders murdering children? Of course it is. It's blatantly obvious. Examiner. The Ninth Circle Satanic Cult, a child sacrifice group composed of global elites, appears to be rooting routinely raping, torturing and murdering children. It was announced yesterday by the ITCCS recent court fines against the international child kidnapping ring go to the court appeal April 7th. Named as chief defendants for the Brussels Common Law Court trial, where Pope Francis, Jesuit Superior General Adolfo Pachon and an Anglican Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, also went to Eton, so he's one of them dirty, filthy paedophiles, among possibly Ninth Circle satanic cult members, named by witnesses who would testify at the trial, where former Pope Joseph Ratzinger and John Paul II UK High Court Justice Judge Fulford and members of the British royal family. Whoa, what a shock that Queen Elizabeth had direct involvement in the kidnapping and death of Aboriginal children, and royal family members appeared to regularly participate in Ninth Circle satanic cult rituals at the Mohawk Indian School in Brantford, Ontario, Canada. Yesterday proclaimed. According to two different affidavits filed in court, not only did different witnesses see Ninth Circle satanic cult members commit murder, but claimed the brutal killings of innocent children continue today, some in sub-basement vaults. The International Court was set to consider testimonies of two former Mohawk school inmates who both say they were present at the Ninth Circle satanic cult murder of a 5 to 6-year-old girl at the Mohawk Indian School in Brantford, Ontario, Canada. A copy of the magistrate's privilege that was filed with sealed archives of the Vatican Library. The Ninth Circle satanic cult operated according to the canon law statute dated December 25th, 1967. It was said to document that before each new pope assumed office, it was mandatory that they participated in Ninth Circle satanic cult rites. The document referred to ceremonial murder of newborn children and consumption of their blood. Ken Clarke and Harriet Harman, both paedophiles, tipped to lead emergency government. Liberal Democrat leader Jo Swinson says she's no way Jeremy Corbyn could unite MPs. Liberal Democrat Jo Swinson has suggested Ken Clarke or Harriet Harman be installed as the Prime Minister of an emergency government to resolve the Brexit crisis. Ms Swinson dismissed Jeremy Corbyn's challenge to opposition parties to install him as caretaker Prime Minister until a general election to prevent a no-deal Brexit under Boris Johnson, saying there was no way the Labour leader could unite MPs. Instead, she recommended placing either the father of or mother of the House of Commons, titles given to the longest-serving sitting male or female MPs to lead an emergency government. Sarah Wollaston joins Lib Dems. Her suggestion came as she welcomed former Conservative MP Sarah Wollaston to the party, bringing the total number of Lib Dem MPs to 14. In her first major speech as party leader, Ms Swinson said the Commons needed to win a vote of no confidence against Boris Johnson and within 14 days install a new PM who has the confidence of the House and will stop at a no-deal Brexit. See, these are traitors. Every bastard MP is a traitor and should be taken out and hung. Or imprisoned. I'll let you lot decide. Referring Mr Corbyn's suggestion, she said he is demanding the keys to number 10 as a precondition for a vote of no confidence. We are facing a national crisis. No, we're not. We just take you lot out and hang you or lock you up, and the crisis is over. And we've been put someone in that actually cares about us and our country. But while you lot are there, never going to happen. Tory Mayor splashes £500 of taxpayers' cash on chauffeur to drive him to meeting of homeless. Exclusive. West Midlands Mayor Andy Street pledged to keep the cost of the Mayor's office as low as possible, but charges a chauffeur driver trip to the taxpayers. A Tory mayor has sparked outrage after spending £500 of taxpayers' cash on a chauffeur to drive him to a meeting of homelessness. West Midlands Mayor Andy Street splashed the... don't know what that says. Obscene sum on the exclusive service to take him and an aide to Heathrow Airport and back home again. In his manifesto, when he ran to become mayor, Mr. Street insisted, "I want to keep the costs of the mayor office as low as possible." The lavish spending by the former John Lewis boss came as can be exposed by the Mirror after his travel costs were revealed under Freedom of Information laws. Birmingham Labour MP Steve McCabe branded the chauffeur-driven journey obscene, adding the money would have been better spent on night shelter and soup kitchens here in the West Midlands. They're taking the piss. They are seriously taking the piss, and we're sitting around and letting them get away with it. Harriet Harman admits paedophile group joined her civil liberties group in the 1970s. Harriet Harman, her husband Jack Drawmey, a front-bench Labour MP, and Patricia Hewitt, a former Labour cabinet minister, were officials at the National Council for Civil Liberties. Harriet Harman has been forced to deny supporting a paedophilia after she admitted that a prominent child sex group was allowed to join a civil liberties organisation she helped run in the 70s. Miss Harman, Labour's deputy leader, said she had and her husband Jack Drawmey, also a front-bench Labour MP, were the victims of a politically motivated smear campaign by the Daily Mail newspaper. Miss Harman condemned the horrific allegations and issued a detailed rebuttal to the claims that the couple and Patricia Hewitt, a former Blairite cabinet minister, has supported the now defunct paedophile information exchange. They were heavily involved, and so was Blair. You know, our cannabis, you can get it on prescription now, yeah? It's lies by the government. 50 arrests as police swoop on cannabis cafe in East London. More than 50 people were handcuffed and searched as armed police raided a suspected Amsterdam-style cannabis cafe in East London. The customers were detained by officers, should be constables, from the Met Violent Crime Task Force. Whenever people smoke cannabis and take cannabis, when are they ever violent? Never, because they're too chilled out. Task Force in a major pre-planned operation at the Coventry Railway Arch in Limehouse. Constables scaled a wall to gain access to the cafe behind Cable Street, cut off exit routes from the back and battered down from the front entrance. There's no way they're going to ever allow us to use cannabis because it cures just about everything, and pharmaceutical industries will be out straight away. Daily Fail. The PC was killed in line of duty just 4 weeks after he wed. Could there be a crueler symbol of Wild West Britain? Wedding picture to make you weep. Now let's not forget, it's probably sad and he probably doesn't mean it, but these bastards, these police, are bringing in the New World Order. They're not protecting us from it. Mirror. PC killed a week before his honeymoon. Yeah, well, like I just said. Aye. 10 arrested after police officer is dragged to death by car. PC Andy Harper was killed while responding to reported burglary. Family pay tribute to newlywed due to go on honeymoon next week. Murder suspect detained by police under include 13-year-old boy. The scum. He should be going on his honeymoon. Yeah. It's bullshit. This is pushing an agenda, so they want you behind the police. So when they come, kick your door down, beat you up and drag you off for no reason whatsoever, you think, well, they're doing a good job. No, they aren't. They are the problem. Express. Carrie puts up on a brolly good show. Newlywed PC dragged to his death. The Times. Sellers to pay stamp duty under Javid tax shake-up. The Guardian, murder inquiry after police officer dragged to his death. Hopes fade for alliance against no deal exit. Telegraph, Clark I'll be PM and end no deal Brexit. The dirty, filthy paedophile Ken Clark. Two veteran agrees to Lib Dem propose to lead emergency cross-party government. Newlywed PC dragged to death. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Waste of paper. Baby horror. Sickest reality TV show ever. Emily's on attack. Absolute waste of paper. FT. Beijing pressure claims Kathy scalp. Greenland burns Trump. British steel hopes rise as Turkish fund agrees to buy business as going concern. The government are deliberately destroying the steel industry. They don't want us capable of building anything. That's why we don't build any cars anymore. We used to have 3 or 4 of them. We don't do any anymore. Deliberately by the parasites in Europe to destroy this country. And almost, finally, some bastard broke into our shed last night. Managed to get his fingerprints though. Road trip and we ain't stopping for shit. Last night my wife wore a police uniform to bed and said, "You're being charged with being good in bed." 90 seconds later, the charges were dropped due to lack of evidence. A married couple never fought, not ever once in 25 years of marriage. A friend of the couple asked, "How is that even possible?" Husband replied, "Well, we went to a ranch for our honeymoon. While horse riding, my wife's horse jumped and my wife fell off. She got up and patted the horse and said, 'This is your first time.' After a while it happened again and she said, 'This is your second time.' And when it happened a third time, she pulled out a gun and shot the horse. I shouted at her and said, 'Are you crazy? You killed the horse.' She gave me a look and said, 'This is your first time.'"